On Used Bike Heaven this week, we're with Gordon Norbury, who's on the search for a big, powerful sports bike. We'll have another featured used bike, another riding tip, and there'll be more biking legalities. This is Gordon Norbury. He comes from Manchester and works for a company selling flexible hoses. Recently, Gordon has sold his ZX7R and is now on the lookout for something still with sporty looks, but with slightly more power.
Hello and welcome to this week's Used Bike Heaven, and I have Gordon with me. Now Gordon, what's your story?
Recently had a Kawasaki ZX7R, recently sold it and looking to upgrade to a bigger CC and still keeping to a sporty bike.
Okay, so why did you sell your ZX7?
Winter's coming. I didn't really want to keep it on over the winter, pay the insurance, so I sold it for winter time and hopefully in the summer I'll buy a new bike. You
sound like our perfect punter. Okay. So what's your budget?
My budget's between £4,000 and £4,500.
Fantastic. Well, I've got three bikes here for you. The Suzuki TL1000S, that's £4,000. Yep. Honda Fireblade,
yep.
That's £4,300.
Okay.
And the Kawasaki ZX9R, that's £4,600. Slightly over your budget there. But have you ever been on one of those before?
I have rode one of those, yes. I've also rode one of the Fireblades, but the only thing I haven't rode is the TL1000.
Right.
I'm not actually looking forward to having a ride of it. I'm a bit worried about it.
They've got a bit of a reputation, haven't they?
They have indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been on a V-twin before?
No.
Right. Oh, it's going to be very interesting for me, at least. Right. Well, before we let you loose, we're going to go to Paul, who's going to give you some facts and figures.
Okay, thank you very much.
Our first bike this week, Gordon, is Kawasaki's ZX9R. This Ninja first hit the showrooms in 1994 and quickly established itself as a true contender in the world of super sports machines. You should find the ZX9R fairly comfortable for a sports bike. Although it has race replica style looks, the riding position is not quite as radical as other bikes in this class. The seat is well padded and it's not too much of a stretch to the bars, which are not particularly low and they're actually quite wide. This bike, Gordon, is an S registered from 1999, which makes it a C2 version with a claimed power of 141 bhp. So it should feel a bit quicker than your old ZX7R. It's covered 14,000 miles and is in superb condition. However, it's the most expensive this week at £4,600. Slightly cheaper though is our next bike, a machine that no sports bike gathering would be complete without. Honda's CBR 900, the Fireblade. Since its launch 10 years ago, the Blade has become the benchmark for sports bikes. Good looks, lots of power and sharp handling to satisfy even the most demanding of riders. This model, Gordon, is from 1998, so its full name would be a CBR 900 RRW. It weighs in at 180 kilos and develops almost 130 brake horsepower. As far as the mileage goes, well, this bike is showing just 1,600 kilometres, which we think is perhaps worthy of some further investigation. It certainly looks like it's seen a little more action than that. Maybe you'll agree once you've taken it for a spin. It's on sale though at £4,300. And finally, Gordon, we'll let you try out a V-twin in the shape of Suzuki's TL1000S. This half-faired machine with its fuel-injected 90-degree V-twin motor was introduced in 1997, but sad to say it was slated by the motorcycle press. Not for its looks or its power, but for its handling. It seemed that when ridden close to the limits, the TL on occasions would go into a tank slapper, sometimes with dire consequences. There's never really been a definitive reason for this. Some have said it's a lack of steering damping, others have pointed the finger at the steering head angle, and even to the somewhat unusual rotary damper on the rear suspension. Whatever the reason, if you're thinking of buying one, Gordon, it's something you should be aware of. This particular TL is from 1998 and it's showing 24,000 miles. You can ride it away for just £4,000.
So there you go, Gordon. That was Paul with some facts and figures. Did you learn anything there?
Yeah, I'm really interested in the TL1000.
Because you've not ridden the V-twin
Not ridden the V-twin, and yeah, it's quite interesting.
Oh, he is interested now, Paul, when he wants to be. Right, we're going to set you off on the Kawasaki.
Okay.
Okay, so if you get your helmet on.
Okay, thank you very much.
And let us know what you think.
Okay.
Okay. So while Gordon has a play on the Kawasaki, we're over to Paul with this week's used bike review.
GSXR. Now what does that say to you? Well, to me it says fast, good looking, loads of street cred, superb performance and in fact all the qualities which are desirable in a modern sports bike. But reputations like that are not gained overnight. Oh no, they can take years to develop. The GSXR name first hit the streets way back in 1986 on Suzuki's 1100cc race rep. And okay, early bikes do look a little dated by today's modern standards, but even today the name still commands a healthy respect. Then, a couple of years later, they introduced the GSXR 750. Now that, without doubt, was the sports bike to own of the day. But then as we went into the 90s, the 600 class started to become more popular for a few reasons really, mainly because a 600 was cheaper to insure than a 750, and also as Honda had proved with their CBR, a decent sports 600 in the right hands was a match for a 750. So then in 1996, guess what? Suzuki gave us what I personally think is still one of the best looking race reps on the road today, the GSXR 600. Not just great looks, but fantastic performance. 105 brake horsepower from the inline 4-cylinder motor is enough to satisfy even the most demanding of adrenaline junkies. The handling too is absolutely spot on, sharp and precise, and with a dry weight of just 174 kilos, the Gixxer 600 is an easy bike to throw around. Physically though, it's not very big, and the riding position, whilst being very focused and aggressive, can feel a little cramped if you happen to be a bit on the tall side. This one is a W registered from the year 2000, but it's got this race replica paint job on it. Now, all I would say about that is if you like it, then fine. But remember, when you come to get rid of it, it might not be everyone else's cup of tea. Another important point with race replica paint jobs is you should really be asking yourself, why has it been done? Why has it been painted like this? It could be that the previous owner just liked it and thought, I'll have it done like that. That's fine, that's okay. It could also be that this bike at some time in the past has suffered some damage. It could have been crashed and it could have been all scratched. GSXR 600s are a bit kind of all or nothing. They're very focused, and my advice would be try before you buy. Because while it looked great, and when you're on it you'll look the bee's knees, if every time you get off it you're aching from head to foot, it's not going to be an awful lot of fun.
Thanks, Paul. And while you were away, Gordon returned with the Kawasaki. So what did you think?
Yeah, it's a lot torquier than the bike I was used to.
Yeah.
A lot comfier. Good grab rails on the back for my girlfriend who's always pulling on the back of it.
Yeah.
And the front brake's absolutely superb on it with a 6-pot caliper. Other than that, nothing wrong with it at all. It was brilliant to handle.
Brilliant. Now, it's obviously, I mean, you're used to the 7.
Yeah.
Did this feel heavier?
It doesn't feel heavier at all, no. It's just a lot easier to ride. The riding position's a lot easier to ride.
Is it really?
It's not more of like a race replica, it's more like a sport tourer.
Yeah, so you could do a lot more miles.
You could do a lot more miles, yeah.
And if you've got your bird on the back, you need to be doing a few miles, don't you? Absolutely. So, I mean, handling then?
Handling, nothing, no problem at all. Went round the islands, no problem. No twitchiness. Went round perfect. Absolutely brilliant bike.
Anything we didn't like?
No, nothing at all.
No kind of little bits we'd like to alter? The cans, everything's fine?
Other than putting a bit of a race can on it so people can hear you coming.
I knew you'd have to say something like that. So that's the Kawasaki then. If you walk this way, we've got the Honda Fireblade. So you've been on one of these, haven't you, before?
I have indeed, yes.
Right, brilliant. So we need to know basically then, Gordon, what you think to this against that.
Unfortunately, it looks slightly dated now, even though that Kawasaki's the same registration plate and everything. Just looking slightly a bit old on the front. Okay. And the fairing's looking a bit old, but...
So now we want to know how it rides. Right. So if you get your helmet on, let us know. Right. Okay. So while Gordon has a little play on the Honda, we're over to Paul and PC Pulfrey and their biking legalities.
Well, thank you, Fran. Now, this week we're back to emails again. Loads and loads of emails about speeding and about cameras in particular, and in particular roadside mounted cameras, GATSOs and things, unmanned cameras if you like. One in particular here, and it's a question I've wondered, about these digital cameras on motorways now that they put up in roadworks that take a picture, do they take a picture or do they take an image of a vehicle as it's coming towards the camera,
There are various different types. There isn't just one make of camera out there. So there are various ones. So you can have a digital system which just takes the shot of the vehicle coming through what we know as the standard speed sight. You know, where you get the graduations marked on the road. Right. The car goes through. The camera takes an image. That goes down the wire to a central computer. They print out the summons and off it goes as quick as that.
Is that with the vehicle going towards the camera?
You can have it either or.
Either or,
going
right.
away from and coming forward. Now the ones that are facing forward are more popular now. They all seem to be going that way. Right. You've also got the digital system that works on an average speed. So you're going to get 2 images or 2 cameras down one length of road. I know Nottingham round the ring road there, they've got a lot of those on. Right.
And M25, I think.
That's right, yeah.
Well, see, the point this guy's making here is saying if there's a camera facing me, facing the front of me on my bike, I'm riding towards the camera, it takes an image of me, then times me over whatever the distance is, says, hang on, that bike was going too fast, let's send him a ticket. He doesn't know who I am because I've got no number plate on the front.
Right.
So does that mean a bike can't get caught on a forward-facing camera?
That's right, which has brought forward the argument about reintroducing front number plates.
Yes.
Which of course are taken off 74 because they were perceived as being dangerous, like mascots and such like.
They are dangerous, aren't they? It's like a blade on the front, isn't it? Right, okay, so it can't get a bike at the moment.
A straightforward forward-facing can't get the registration plate of a bike. That's not to say that if it was something really serious, you couldn't trace the bike and rider.
Right.
So you're not truly exempt.
Right, but technically speaking, they take a picture of a bike.
Forward-facing cameras are very motorcycle friendly.
They are motorcycle friendly, good, right, that's nice to know, thanks Chris. I've got loads more here about speeding, in particular talking about policemen with radar guns and things, but there's loads and it's a minefield, I know, so we'll save them till next time.
So that's it for part 1. Join us in part 2 when Gordon will be back with the Fireblade and we'll be setting him off on the Suzuki, and Paul will also be back to give you some words of wisdom about riding. See you after the break. Welcome back to Used Bike Heaven now. If you were with us before the break, you'll know we're with Gordon, who's looking for a powerful sports bike. So we sent him out on the ZX9R. He liked that, in fact he loved that, no problems with that whatsoever. Then we sent him out on the Fireblade, and he's going to tell me what he thinks to it.
Yeah, the power is about the same. The tank, a lot smaller, very quick steering, no problem with the braking or anything, except for on heavy braking, on this in particular bike, the front end seems to judder. So I think maybe it could have had a front end crash at some time.
Now you were saying before about the looks of this being a little bit dated. Do you still think that?
I think it does look dated, yes. There's been a few new models out since then and just puts me off a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's the Honda.
Okay.
So now we're on to the Suzuki.
Okay.
The V-twin.
The V-twin, yes.
Yeah. Little apprehensive?
I am indeed, yes. Very apprehensive actually riding it.
Yeah.
There's a few stories about them, but...
yeah, they've got a reputation for being a tank slapper, haven't they?
They are indeed, yeah.
So don't be doing any of that, will you?
Okay, I'll try not to.
I want you to come back in one piece.
Okay.
And let us know what you think.
Right, thank you very much. Okay.
So, while Gordon puts the Suzuki through its paces, we're over to Paul, who's going to be waffling on about riding skills.
Well, thank you, Fran. Now this week we're going to talk about one of the most basic things about riding a motorcycle. And one of the most basic things is braking. You need to be able to stop a bike safely and smoothly in full control. Doesn't matter how smooth the ride you are, how fast you can go, if you can't stop the bike properly, you're going to have big problems. And you need to be able to stop the bike in the distance that you can see to be clear. Now, did you know that at 70 miles an hour it will take you 315 feet to stop? Now that's a long way. I'll just show you how far that is. Well, it's actually twice that far. That's just halfway, so you'll be this far again down there. That's how long it will take you to stop at 70 miles an hour. And some of that distance is taken up with what's called the thinking time. The thinking time is the time it takes you to react, to actually pull the brake when you think, oh, I need to brake. At 70 miles an hour, your thinking distance is 70 feet. 30 mile an hour, 30 feet, 50 mile an hour, 50 feet, and so on and so forth. So if we can reduce that thinking time, obviously we'll be able to stop a little bit quicker. So what you need to do is, if you're on a road where there's nothing about you, in the middle of nowhere, fine, ride along all day like this, not a problem. But if you're in traffic, what I do when I'm in traffic, I'm in towns or amongst other vehicles, I cover my front brake. Sometimes I'll cover it with one finger like that. Sometimes I'll cover it with two fingers like that. So I'm already on the brake and I can pull it just at a moment's notice. Same with the rear brake as well. Keep my boot just hovering over the rear brake lever. But an important point is, especially if it's a bike that you're not familiar with, maybe you borrowed your mate's bike, you jump on it and you cover the brake like that, you press the brake, what can happen is, depending on how he or she has their brake lever set, you can pull that right in and the braking point could be right up here near the actual bar. So you can trap your knuckles. So you've got your knuckles there and before you know it, you've no front brake. So it's important if you've got a bike that's got levers that have adjustable span like my Hornet does, is to adjust that so that the braking point, the biting point of the brake is there before you start to crush your knuckles. So that's an important point. So which brake should we use? Well, if you read any manual, everyone knows the front brake is the most powerful on a bike. So in ideal conditions, when the roads are nice and dry and it's a good surface, generally speaking, 75% front brake against 25% rear brake. Obviously, when the conditions deteriorate slightly, today it's a bit damp and the roads are a little bit greasy, you would reduce that percentage, maybe 50-50 front to back. In extreme circumstances, particularly on loose ground and gravel as we spoke about in the past, forget the front brake almost. If you're only going slow there, forget it, use the back brake. Reduce your amount of front braking as the conditions get worse. And as I said at the beginning, no matter how smooth you are, no matter how fast you are or how talented you are on a bike, if you can't brake properly, if you mess up your braking, you will fall off. And if you fall off, it hurts.
Well, cheers, Paul, and while you were away, Gordon returned with the Suzuki. What did you think then to the V-twin?
Wasn't as daunting as I thought it would be. Very torque engine, very good brakes, very smooth when you get going on it.
Yeah.
Didn't like when you set off, steering very heavy when you set off. Well, other than that, fine, no problem at all.
Really? So, I mean, handling-wise, obviously, did it feel different?
It did feel different from the other two. It's all engine braking, the power's either there or it's not there.
Yeah. Did you get used to that? Because a lot of people were like, ooh, over the handlebars.
If I rode it for a bit further, I think I'd have got used to it. The short distance, I couldn't really tell whether I got used to it or not.
Right, okay. So you said about the power. Now the looks.
The looks, if it had a full fairing on, it would look a lot better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's showing all the engine at the bottom.
Yeah.
And the oil cooler and everything.
It's not the best looking of engines,
it isn't,
really,
no.
is it? No, exactly. So I mean, and it's red, which to me, I don't know about you, but I just think Suzuki should be blue.
Being blue, yeah,
or blue
definitely.
and white, preferably. Yeah. So I mean, comfort-wise.
Comfort-wise, no problem at all. Very comfy.
Yeah.
It's got a grab rail on the back.
It's
for
got
my girlfriend.
2 grab rails.
2 grab rails, yeah.
She'll be more than happy. Yeah. Right. Okay then. Well, we know then what you think to it. So you're not opposed to the V-twin, is that what I'm getting?
No, I'm not opposed to it. I've heard lots of stories. I was very worried about riding it actually.
You looked a little apprehensive.
I did.
I
I felt quite apprehensive. It was all right.
It's been a pleasant experience.
It has.
Brilliant. So cast your minds back then.
Yep.
To the Kawasaki. Good and bad points briefly.
Good points. Very comfy. Very smooth. Not really any bad points on it really. I can't find any bad points at all.
I couldn't remember any that you'd said actually. No, I mean it looks the part and everything, doesn't it?
It does. It looks very good. Yes.
Yep. So the Fireblade. Good and bad points.
Good points. Power. Very quick steering. Bad points. Slightly dated.
That front
end. And the front disc, unfortunately.
That was a bit of a pain, wasn't it? A bit of a letdown, really.
It was, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't give me too much, but do you think you know which one you'd go for then in these
yes,
three?
I do, yeah.
Okay, well, before you tell me, we're going to go to Paul, who's going to give us a recap.
Okay.
Okay.
OK, Gordon, will you take our Ninja, the ZX9R, at £4,600? You said this machine was a good all-rounder and offered a decent amount of comfort, and you quite liked the pillion department. Or will you take our rather suspect Fireblade at £4,300? There's certainly evidence of a front-end smash and possibly some warped discs up there. The mileage certainly doesn't tie in with the bike's condition. Or will you be a V-twin man and take Suzuki's TL1000S at just £4,000? You said the gearbox felt slightly clunky and it took you a while to get used to the engine braking. Gordon, the choice is yours.
So there you go, Gordon. That was Paul with a recap. Put me out of my misery. Which one's it going to be?
The Kawasaki.
I knew you were going to say that. So you are a Kawasaki man then?
Not necessarily so, it's just this one does it for me.
Yeah? So, I mean, we know obviously you like this bike, but just remind me one more time why you like it so much.
The power, the comfort, and just the overall look of it.
Yeah, you like the paint job, don't you?
I do indeed, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great bike, to be honest. It's 4,600, so I'm £100 over your budget.
Maybe I can negotiate on it.
Really? Fantastic. Well, I mean, they do also as well that I failed to mention. It's got new brake pads and a new front tyre. So it might be worth you paying £100 if they won't give you anything off it.
Yeah, bargain.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's also green.
Yeah, all Kawasaki should be in green.
I knew you were going to say that. Everybody always says that. Well, I'm pleased you're happy. Fantastic. Thank you very much for testing them for us. And that's it for this week. We'll join us next week for some more Used Bike Heaven.
On Used Bike Heaven next week, we'll meet Louise Kane, who's looking to trade in her CB500S for something slightly more powerful. We'll have another featured used bike, another riding tip, and there'll be another biking legality.